Hello, my name is Domi and I'm a sports coaching student. Welcome to my presentation series in which we will explore, discuss and analyse the role of sport for development. This is the first out of 3 presentations and today we will introduce the concept of sport for development. We will explore using sport as a vehicle to develop communities and nations. How did it start? Historical and contemporary perspectives on sport for development and sport for development organizations. So let's start with some definitions on context. So colonialism is a practice by which a powerful country directly controls less powerful countries and uses their resources to increase its own power and wealth. The Cambridge Dictionary defines empire as a group of countries ruled by a single person, government or country. So in the context of sport for development, the British were the empire who colonized many countries, ruled them as their colonies and developed them in their own way. Imperialism is a situation in which one country has a lot of power or influence over others, especially in political and economic matters. Postcolonialism happens when a country gets released from the empire and becomes its own nation. Now, this can have amazing results. Take Jamaica, for example, who proved to the Brits that they can run their own country. We will discuss how they accomplished that in the next presentation. However, postcolonialism can also have very negative aftermaths. Rwanda was first colonized by Germany in 1884 and then by Belgium in 1916. They have created a colony from 3 tribes, Tutsi, Hutu and Twa. Belgians heavily promoted the Tutsi supremacy and separation from the other tribes, which eventually led to the Hutu and Twa tribes being treated as intruders. In 1935, Belgians introduced identity cards, which made it very difficult for the other tribes to coexist with the Tutsi, and the Hutu tribe in particular was a subject of discrimination. Eventually, this escalated to cycles of violence between the tribes and Rwandan revolution has begun. This meant that hundreds of Tutsi people had to seek refuge, escaping from the death and destruction of the other tribes. Belgians tried to control this, but once they realized how bad of a mess they have created, they decided to back away. They abolished the monarchy, which left Rwanda independent in 1962. However, even after the Belgians left, the tensions between the tribes have remained. This history of conflict is believed to be a result of colonialism, which got even worse as the time went on. In 1993, Felician Kabuga has started a propaganda to exterminate the Tutsi tribe. This eventually led to the Rwandan genocide, which lasted 100 days, and it's estimated that between 500,000 and 600,000 of lives were taken during this time. Britannica defines neocolonialism as control of less developed countries by developed countries through indirect means. A very common example of neocolonialism is big companies from the West mass-producing their items in sweatshops in Eastern countries such as Indonesia, China or Vietnam. The items are made at a very little expense and then sold for a significantly higher price. The workers in these sweatshops are earning very low wages in pitiful conditions, with very little rights, and they are often forced to work overtimes. More often than not, these workers are children. But we have aid and development. You might think they are interchangeable terms, though they are not. Here is the difference. BBC defined aid as assistance given from one country to another. This can include money, loans, equipment and training. On the contrary, development is a permanent process of growth or changing from one condition to another, as defined by National Geographic. So an example of aid could be foreign aid from the government of one country to another, providing this assistance after a cataclysm, whether it being natural or political, and more often than not, aid is temporary. Some examples of development include providing education to young children and adults, teaching how to farm more efficiently, teaching how to trade, empowering young girls, and building facilities to provide clean water in developing countries. So, development can happen through 3 different types of organizations: governmental organizations, also known as GOs, intergovernmental organizations, also known as IGOs, and non-governmental organizations, known as NGOs. So the term governmental organization is defined as an appointed commission that is a permanent or semi-permanent organization that is responsible for oversight of specific functions, such as administration. Some examples of GOs include Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, also known as SDC, NORAD, and Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. An example of a GO is NORAD, which was founded by the Government of Norway in 1968 in Oslo, with the headquarters also in Oslo. The organisation is a directorate under the Norwegian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So what does NORAD do? They report to the Norwegian Ministry of Climate and Environment. They provide expert advice about development and aid to foreign services and cooperate with a range of other organisations in the development environment. They grant funding to organisations within civil society, research, higher education and industry that work with partners in poor countries. They provide information about Norwegian aid to the Norwegian public in a way that's easy to understand. And they evaluate activities funded over the Norwegian development budget. Harvard Law School has defined the term intergovernmental organization as an entity created by treaty involving two or more nations to work in good faith on issues of common interest. Some examples of IGOs include United Nations, World Health Organization, the United Nations Refugee Agency, and United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund. United Nations was founded on 24th of October in 1945 in San Francisco, with their headquarters based in New York. Their aim is to maintain the international peace and security. So the roles of United Nations include developing friendly relations among the nations, protecting human rights, achieving international cooperation, delivering humanitarian aid, promoting sustainable development, and providing a center for harmonizing the actions of nations. A non-governmental organization is a subgroup of organizations founded by citizens that is independent of government involvement. They include clubs and associations providing services to its members or a particular cause. Some examples of NGOs include International Committee of the Red Cross, Oxfam, Amnesty International, and Greenpeace. Greenpeace is an environmental NGO that was founded in 1971 in Vancouver, and their headquarters is based in Amsterdam, though they do have offices in over 55 countries. But what do? They investigate, document, and expose the causes of environmental destruction. They bring around change by lobbying, consumer pressure, and mobilizing members of the general public. They take peaceful, direct action to protect our Earth, and they promote solutions for green and peaceful future. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below and I will do my best to answer them. I will see you in my next presentation. Stay safe and goodbye.